I love that picture of you over there.
Yeah, it's pretty.
It's kind of cute. Safe on the.
That wasn't you.
Sick.
Wait. Are we starting after that? Sorry, wasn't. Hello and welcome to the first Fifth Unit podcast. Today we're going to talk about a few topics, and because it's the first one, it seems right to sort of talk about how this whole thing started. I'm going to tip it first off to Marcus Dell as the real OG out here. If you could explain where the original thought came from, and then we can explain as people came through. But before we get started on that, we're going to go through some names. We have my man on the left,
Dylan.
James.
and Chris.
Marcus.
I'm Finn.
Take it away, Marcus. How did this whole thing begin?
So, I guess it started. I don't know if I've got an accurate time frame on it, but roughly 9 years ago, something like that.
9 years.
Yeah, something like that. I reckon.
Fair.
Yeah, 7, 8, 9, so somewhere around that
He's
time.
been training for time.
Yeah, it was basically indoor. We're basically all based centered around Dorking. A few of us kind of 5 minutes outside, but around that time it was basically me and a guy called Adam Gamer and Dennis Raps, and the three of us would just kind of train. I say train, we were just
Jumping off really high things.
Shouting parkour.
yeah, basically on jumping off the multi-story sort of thing and 360 vaulting fences. But yeah, it was that was sort of a thing, and then we kind of decided they wanted to make a team, and then at some point down the line we were training a lot with some boys from Horsham. So that, I mean, the Witchells, who are still relatively active to a point. Some other, I'm trying to think, maybe I don't just list a load of names that maybe don't even train anymore. But then the team grew to 6 of us roughly, kind of spread out between Dorking and Horsham. And then it sort of fell apart a little bit when I went to university. We started making videos because that was kind of that was kind of all it was, really. It was basically just a YouTube channel. It was kind of a community YouTube channel. The videos weren't exclusive to just people that were in the team as such. But that kind of fell apart when I was at university. And then when I came back from there 3 years later, basically these boys were just training in Dorking. There was suddenly this community, 20, 25 strong, of people coaching.
There was a lot of us,
Just great.
I can remember training with you before when you guys had just started. Then you went to uni, and then I was on the circles outside Dorking Halls, and Adam Gamer or you start screaming Phil Doyle, and you legitimately thought that I was Phil Doyle.
Yes.
And then you came over and you were like, "Oh, it's only you." And I was like, "Oh, cheers." And then we went to the set. Then we told you about the session that was on, and you were like, "Yeah, let's go to that."
Yeah. Oh, well, that's when I got back.
Yeah, that was after you got back.
Yeah,
I'm pretty
right.
sure.
Before you left, so when I started training, I was watching all your videos, and this was while you were still in Dorking. I'd seen basically all of them. And because obviously you type in parkour Dorking, that's just what you do when you train Dorking for the first time. And Finn met you guys at some point on the train or something, and you were going to go out train. You went out training in Dorking, and Finn called me, and I was at home, or to message me at home. It was these boys are out in Dorking, come. And I hopped on the first bus to Dorking, and came out, straight away came out, and that was the first day that I plyo dived that little Halifax bit. With Gamer.
Wait, you plyo dived Halifax then?
Yeah. I did it with Gamer.
Fair. I remember seeing Gamer do the first front flip. It was the first front flip I've ever seen outside.
Yeah.
Then I was absolutely shook. He did that. I was like, I'm never going to be able to do that. That's mad.
Anyway, that was basically it. So I got back, and there was suddenly this community that was literally 10 times the size of when I left, which is insane. And yeah, and then I was just going to the sessions that these boys were coaching at for a little while, and then at some point I just kind of said, "Do you want to start?"
Then we got the invite.
Yeah,
invite.
Just kick it off again, really.
Shout out to me for sending Marcus's skate parkour video to Marrero Gang, getting it featured, and him being "This could work." And be you guys want to be in the team, so we make big videos.
That was so. I remember when you asked us. We were walking through town. I was training or something. Yeah, and then we were it was
next
dark.
to Sainsbury's after a Tuesday.
Yeah,
You weren't
that's
there.
cute.
You weren't. James wasn't there.
Nah, I wasn't.
And I remember you saying you went you two boys and then James and then like Harvey obviously like and we're like yeah sick, it's gonna be so good.
And then you peeled off and went back to yours, and then me and Chris were like
Fangirling.
we were like gushing, we're like because we got
strange.
it's really weird because
So
like because we were just watching these videos and like you were the only like I didn't really watch parkour videos back then, so it was like I was watching your stuff and being like, fuck, these guys are mad, and then like I assume we're gonna swear as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I told Dylan earlier that just so we won.
Yeah, so I was watching all your videos and then we got invited and I was like, damn, like this is sick. It was like the biggest thing. It was like
Yeah.
it sounds really gushy,
No,
but that is what me and Chris were like sat there. We were like, oh my god, we got invited. So bad.
Bizarre.
Because when I was watching your videos, the only other video, like the videos I was comparing them to, was like Stora and like Storm, like all that. Like so, like it was I would watch them and then I'd watch your videos as well. So I'd be like, oh, it's like you know, it held like the same sort of merit, if you know what I mean.
There just wasn't as much. There just wasn't as much content like at that time.
Yeah.
To
Yeah.
watch. It was
There's
just
like
quite a
5
small
teams.
thing.
And then
Yeah, but then our first, I guess the next thing after that was we did EXO,
Filmed
wasn't
EXO,
it? We put
yeah.
EXO
Put it
out, which
there.
was
Giles picked it up on compiles.
so that was some clips from kind of around locally where we are, and then we went out to Barcelona with some of the Scruffy Boys. That was before the Scruffy Boys was a thing, wasn't it?
yeah, that was
Yeah,
Jack
it was.
Dodds.
Yeah, so some of the Plymouth Boys, Jack Dodds, David Cooper. Now that they're like the sickest fucking team ever.
Joke.
But yeah, but a few of us went out to
That's like
Barcelona
really-
and finished off filming this video and put it out, and that's, I mean, yeah, that was
Wait,
last summer.
So how long have we been?
That was not last summer.
Was it not?
That was
No.
2 years ago.
Yeah.
No.
That's what I was about to say. Like, I'm pretty bad at this. I
Last-
should know this, but how long is the like resurgence of Fifth Unit? How long? That was like 2 years ago.
Same,
Two years,
same
yeah,
as
must be
Resur-
2
it was
years. So it's
like
like-
it was literally like a week after Resurgence, the Motors video.
And then
Or it
Dylan
was the same day.
came into it. It's like the invited,
Yeah.
like a year ago.
Yeah.
Young Steez.
Yeah.
Which video did you feature?
I remember.
He
Oh,
featured in affirmative action for the
Before.
first time.
I remember. We filmed
Did a
live.
gate flip.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's sick.
I remember we added me to the team because I was like in the car on the way to a funeral. And he just added me into the group chat.
That's fucking funny.
Oh yeah, that's what we
Yeah.
did. Just add him into the group
Yeah,
chat.
yeah.
I felt so bad because I was just gassed all day at this funeral.
Maybe we should just mention. I mean, I'm sure some people may know this, some people might not. But there's Harvey. Harvey's not here. Harvey studies in Bristol at the moment.
Yeah.
Obviously, he will
Makes
feature in
planes,
these at
that
some
man.
point, like, no doubt. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean
Possibly
that's
the
a
best
fairly
in the
like
team.
yeah.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
that's it really. That's the origin,
the
I guess,
boys.
or the kind of story.
Tell him the name story.
Where did the
Yeah.
name come
Go
from?
on.
Yeah,
Marcus.
people ask this a lot just because
Yeah.
it's
It sounds like
Strange.
there should be a real story. Fifth Unit
Yeah,
sounds
exactly.
like it has a real story.
because it's so bizarre. There must be a reason, which makes it even harder to be like. There's literally nothing. There's less
There's
than
less
no
than nothing,
reason.
yeah.
It was as much as it must have been within the same week that we decided we wanted to like make a team. We were trying to think of a name and probably went through all the fucking classic shit that you do, like Team Delta and all the that sort of
Team
stuff.
Delta.
I bet there is a Team Delta, isn't there?
Parkour Delta in Red Hill?
That's
Question mark?
It's Ty's team.
Ty's team's Parkour Delta in Red Hill.
fucking hell! I'm sorry, boys.
yeah.
Anyway, that you know what I mean. We went
They
through
are
all
gonna
that,
watch this.
and then
Sorry, Ty.
my mistake.
Sorry, lads.
Anyway, he
Change your name.
Yeah, Gamer just phoned me up and he said he'd just seen this word written in his dad's truck, like on the glove box of his dad's truck. And it obviously just said Fifth Unit. And we're like, sweet, done, easy.
Boom.
Yeah, and then I remember like being in his dad's truck like a few weeks later and being like, so where's the word? And he's like, and we just couldn't find it. So I don't know if it's a myth or not. But
You just sat there.
It could be a lie.
You just thought of it. You went for it.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Do you remember, like, going through all that thing of like making up a team when we were trying to make up a team?
We went through like 4 names.
Was it like Libertatum?
Libertatum.
Do you remember?
Celerity.
Do you remember when we came up with Motus? Do you remember that?
We were talking
Yeah.
about it's
We were talking about
libertatum.
because it's Latin for movement.
Yeah, and then we came up with libertatum, which is Latin for liberty.
Yeah.
Or like freedom.
So we were like, oh,
we did mess with the idea of motors because it's movement.
You spend the afternoon on Google Translate.
Giles.
Yeah, we did. Yeah. Honestly, best evening of my life.
Giles, you got lucky. We could have taken it first.
Ooh, look at us.
Like,
I
sorry,
remember there
but-
was a video
You're
from
welcome.
some Danish. There was like a Danish parkour video called Motors, something like a couple
Yeah,
years ago.
yeah.
So.
Really?
Yeah, really
Yeah,
good video as
I've
well.
seen that. Yeah.
Fair.
Not even original, mate.
Yeah. But we don't have projects. We just called like Team Motus.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it definitely would have been like Team Motors or Motors Free Running or something.
Yeah, it
doesn't
Kind of
have
bullshit.
something-
Something
shit.
dead. It wouldn't have been as good.
So
Yeah.
in that vein, Marcus, like, what was your like process originally for like the old videos? Because obviously we have like the sort of way we do stuff now.
Yeah,
What
we've
was your,
got like a
thinking?
certain
What was your,
style.
what was your
behind it and
thinking
stuff.
like when you were making those old videos that me and Finn were watching?
What, like the first? Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Vulture. Vulture?
I
Vulture,
love
yeah,
Vultures.
Vultures,
yeah.
Vultures,
Vultures
so
one of my
good.
favourites.
That was when I
Absolutely.
think that we like honed in what we kind of like wanted to
Yeah.
like, do. But the thing is, but what was so different about that was there was no conflict in terms of, is this going to be put on like social media or is this going to be saved for the video? It says during a training session, we were filming for that video or not filming at all. So it's just like, which is kind of nice. And there's a lot that I kind of,
Miss, I guess.
miss about that kind of attitude. But I'm not saying that's like the way forward or anything necessarily, but that was it. It was, we'd have a project on the go and everything would just be directed towards that. So we'd pick a song or a vibe or something, and that's kind of stuck through to even now. I mean, so we went to Madrid last summer and we're like, we want to make like a
I feel good, like old
2011 vibe video, that sort of thing. So we went out with that ambition. That was very much what we were doing, like
and obviously it worked.
originally.
Mm.
Yeah, but it was fun. But it was just so different. It wasn't like a necessarily a conscious thought to like, yeah. But that was it. Just it was just making videos, documenting like just good times with friends, and that's literally it. Like as
Yeah.
a lot of videos were like at
Yeah,
that,
a bit more
at that
pure in
time.
a way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's like it's all sort of grown in a certain direction now, where like a lot of stuff I feel is very like high quality. Like everyone aims for higher quality stuff now, whereas like back in the day it was more like
Everything.
everything and
Anything.
like feel good. Like
Yeah.
imagine Resurgence, but with a slow mo clip of someone smiling next to a view.
Yeah.
Like, it just wouldn't go in.
Yeah.
Whereas like back in the, like Eric Moore's videos, like just say yes more, like is a sick video, and it's like, but like there's like all those like slow mo shots of like people like smiling, like kind of like what people might class as cringy, but like it's just changed now. People are so much. I'd say people are like set in being more serious. if that
Something
makes
about
sense.
that is there's now people within parkour who are incredibly skilled filmmakers as well.
Yeah. I agree.
So I mean,
one of them
just
sitting
using-
next to me.
no, I mean just like just me as an example. I'm
man.
not saying I'm an amazing filmmaker, but I just said, okay, I'll be the one to make the videos, and that was it. And then I really enjoyed it, and now I'm kind of doing that more and more still, even like outside of parkour. But it was like, I'll just do it, because someone needs to make our videos. It wasn't, but
Yeah.
now there's people who are almost, I think there are people who come to parkour from filmmaking to a point, or there's somehow in some friendship group, and they're like, I'm going to shoot you guys, and
Yeah.
that's I think one of the reasons that the production value is going up on them, and it's let's make a product. This is like a video, rather than here's what we did the last. I don't know.
So-
like, somewhere that kind of changed.
Yeah.
Somehow you've kept like a really good balance as well of training and being the guy that films most of the stuff. Like we'll sit there and we're like, oh yeah, we'll film this as well. But when it comes to like the Audio Slave one, you've got a set idea. You want it like that. So you are generally the person behind the camera because you do the angles. Yet still, you're like, out of all of the people that I know, like the more high-end filmmakers within parkour, like Giles, Toby, Sasha,
Will Sutton's another good one.
Will Sutton, like they still train, or at least as far as I know, but they don't. Maybe they're not as active on social media, but somehow you're like staying active while being the guy that does most of the editing.
Yeah, it
is
certainly
quite cool.
it certainly seems like you're training the most out of the like. If for those examples, I'd say like Toby does train. He's in quite a bit of like videos nowadays, but he's also like when he is filming, he's not in it. If you know what I mean. And then like Sasha as well is sort of like when he's behind the camera, he's not in it, but like. Whereas when they're doing the vlogs, he is in it because he's not behind the camera, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And then Giles for sure is like quite set on like filming stuff and just like being behind the camera and not always not always doing the movement.
I don't think I'm in the same bunch as those boys at all.
No, but saying is like just the position they are within that like team or that group. Yeah. You're in the like all the motors boys can film. And they can edit to a certain degree. Like Keelan probably more than the others as far as I know. But
Luke's pretty good as well.
Yeah, and Luke. But then like you're the one that
Johnson.
does.
Fucking hell, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
but
yeah,
then
of course,
like look at how much
Johnson.
content he doesn't put out on social media. Like I'm not saying that he doesn't train, but maybe he's not like drawn to it that way. But you still put out the content as well as your personal and the team content. If you get what I mean.
Maybe
Which
that's
is
just me low-key being a control freak.
Yeah.
Yeah, you definitely like know what you want to get, even if it's down to like the specific zoom on your phone.
In it.
It's 1.4 over there, please.
That's the best part, though. I think. Cause I'll leave you be like ready. But is it still on 1.5? But yep, it's been on 1.5 the whole time.
I know I'm such a wanker. Right? There's a point that I like go to say something like What? Sorry. What?
Yeah.
No, but you also like kicked off the whole thing of mini edits on Insta, especially for like us.
Nah, I'd argue Try Hard are the ones that got me into that.
No,
sort of shit.
for us,
Elijah.
though. Like you were the first one out of us that started doing it.
Yeah, but I started doing it because of like Lieb. Aiden Lieb's like little edits on Insta are so sick, and I was literally like, that is what I want, and so I like tried to push to be more like that, but my style hasn't quite come out in the same way.
Yeah,
because I'm not Lieb and steezy as fuck.
That boy.
But you take it to a different degree as well, though. You put it onto Premiere, don't you? You like all your Insta stuff. You take on Premiere, where we're like on phones and stuff.
I'm just
Power director, big up.
Not on the computer, on the phone.
If you haven't copped it already, you're a mug, because now I have to pay monthly. I paid like £2 once. So
no, it was £5.
Yeah, well, either way, I don't pay £5 monthly. I only paid £5 once.
Yeah,
so shout out Power Director for being done it back in the day.
Changed the account.
But back to like what we were saying before, I think like people like certain people like people seem to say that like so like Stora, for example, people like sort of say that they've like changed their content in like their content has grown in a certain direction, and I think that like it has, but it also hasn't, because if you go back to like their original stuff, it's like called Stora blog, and it's like more vloggy and like bloggy.
Yeah,
sort of like it was never really just training. It was always training and what they were doing, and now they're mainly focused on training and what they're doing. But I think they've just refined that to like a proper, like now that vlogging is really popular, they've refined it to that vlogging style, which wasn't really around when they started. If that makes sense.
Yeah,
I think they always have like a concept behind their videos as well. Like
well, they do. Yeah. It's fucking sick.
We want to show how scary this jumper is.
Yeah,
but do it like a vloggy style instead of like a documentary style, like Giles did with the Verkey's Kong double game.
Behind the jumps.
Yeah, I think that is definitely a direction people should be pushing more. I honestly would fucking love to see people break down shit so hard, like, because I just know like the mental process I go through doing like certain jumps and like how it like feels when you're like doing it, and I want to see like other people progress, and that's like how they get through it. You know what I mean? Because there's so many different ways that work for different people to break down certain stuff. So like Luke doing the double down IMAX, like he standing dived it down. There was no way I was standing diving it, because it's just like not something I'd want to do.
It would be so cool to get that moment in Madrid where you said like, I can see it now. To get that on camera,
that sort of thing.
How cool would that be? So, like, the story behind that was there's a double. Where was it? Madrid. What's it called?
Tres
Cantos.
Yeah.
There was the double down that we put in at the end of the Madrid video.
Best spot in the world.
He was like sat there, prepping it, like working it all out, and then just out of nowhere you hear like, I can see it now, and then within like 2 minutes he's done it, and it was the coolest moment to be like, oh, it's there, I can do it, and just does it.
It's because it was just like one of those things. I was like doing the Kong Pre, and then like I like when I first looked at it, I was like, I can see a Kong Pre, but I couldn't see myself doing the double.
Yeah.
Like, I knew the double was a thing, but I couldn't see in my head like how I'd go over and how I'd control it. And then like after like there's just a point where I put the right speed in, and I was like, and like after doing that, I was like, if I do that for the double, that's the one. And I'm like, okay, and I just like knew. I don't
It
know.
was so cool.
And I think that's the sort of thing like people need to be showing more. They kind of Stora like touched on it in Roof Culture a little bit, but I don't think they didn't quite show like they did like they showed how it like people prep for stuff and how they like get used to the height and stuff like that. But I don't think they like tried to go for it, but I don't think they quite hit the nail on the head of like how many things people do and like how people break down certain bits. Whereas I think Giles on like the behind the jumps really like kind of hits it, where it's like Verky is doing the thing and he talks about like he says like he's like what bit he's scared of, and then he eventually gets over it and gets it, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
I really like that sort of thing.
it was cool to see like the expansion of like parkour content and stuff. Like we were saying earlier.
I mean, you can if
yeah,
you go on YouTube, like far enough back, you can like you go on our YouTube and just look at the old bit like a shout out, go Cookie you mug on Fifth Unit parkour might be the best video from back in the day. Watch that and then watch Code Cheese and just like give it a little comparison and see what the differences are in those two videos, because I can tell you there are some vast differences.
I have a better shout out. Dorking Times on Finn McDougall.
Yeah,
It's arguably a better shout out to see how far we've come from that video.
I think
To,
Finn
like,
meant just
now.
like parkour content as a.
I meant parkour, but going back on like our stuff, like Dorking Times. That
Dorking
was
Times is a shambles.
so.
of
There's
a
like
video.
there's like spelling mistakes in like the title cards
Isn't
and
it project
stuff.
is spelled wrong at the end.
Yeah, it was
Oh,
so
and
bad.
you got that you got that classic hood up.
Yeah, it was like someone's
Yeah,
like, it was like
Josh,
feel
that's
good,
all
and he's
right.
like he's just on the trampoline out
Yeah.
there, and there's just like houses behind. It's not even like a big jump or anything. It's just like
He just puts his hood up and it cuts.
The only shot you were missing was like from behind, and then someone drops like a drawstring bag, and then
yeah,
just
just
down.
takes it
Or the
away.
sunset with the hands like this one. Didn't have that.
Classic.
Back in the
Different
day.
era though.
I
that.
used
Different
I
era.
used to love that in Stora videos when like bend your max just like bing.
Yeah.
I used to cane
made the
that
sun.
shit.
No, it's mad.
Yeah, well, in the sense of general parkour content growing, it just is like look at like 3 podcasts, or like we're making our podcast
Within the
now.
week.
2 other like Farang just put theirs out, Motors put theirs out, like, and then there already are a few like going like Brandon Douglas has been doing them for time
High
and they're
drop.
sick.
Sport parkour as well.
Sport parkour,
Renee
yeah, and
that.
then and just like Motors are writing more bloggy stuff. I know Farang's been blogging like been doing like blogs on their website for time, but I've never really like looked into it too much.
So like Move Mag just dropped their like first proper.
I
Yeah,
so
yeah.
want that.
The first
I
like,
like
proper
in a
parkour
full
magazine.
set, full
So
set.
sick. Yeah.
So cool.
Dodds is all over that, I think, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Dodds is all up in that shit with his film.
And it's like
photos.
the film, like doing film photos as well.
Kind of exploded, didn't it?
Yeah, like out of
Parkour
nowhere,
was
like
just suddenly
everyone
became
started
a massive thing.
whacking out the 35mm, which is sick.
Yeah, literally everyone in this room.
yeah. To be fair,
Yeah, we all
you've got like an
did.
underwater 35mm, don't you? Don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got it
I've
from
got like
China.
9.
You've got, like,
overall.
yeah.
I've got so
Yeah,
many
Jesus.
cameras, medium format.
I've got
you
like
name it.
3.
Yeah.
I've got addiction. Honestly, it's a problem.
No
Just
one,
buy
no
them.
one does it like Dodds though. I don't know.
Innit?
It's just
He just has such a style. Like,
The man slays.
yeah.
It's true. It's the only way to put it. The man
Yeah,
slays.
slays.
The man
Yeah,
is slaying
yeah.
out here.
He's just one of those unbelievably talented guys.
yeah.
Like from his training to like.
I'd also argue he's like incredibly humble at the same time though. Like he's so good at things, but he doesn't really like. You know, he doesn't work or he doesn't play on the fact that he's good. He just is good, and then is like such a nice, genuine human at the same time.
Yeah.
Seems to come
Yeah.
very naturally to him. Doesn't
Yeah,
it?
exactly.
Doesn't it?
Just to put a bit of backstory in, when we say Dodds, we mean a man called Jack Dodds from
Yeah.
Plymouth.
At Dodds PK. Or
At
Dodds
Dodds
Film.
PK, Dodds Film, if you want to see his photos, oozes stees on like
They all do.
every clip.
Yeah.
Like literally, probably
At
the
Joe
nicest,
Machine.
the nicest corks like I've seen. He did like a D leg. I think it was a D leg full or D leg cork like the other week, like a couple of weeks ago. banging.
You would have seen his
Can't-
photos.
yeah,
His
yeah.
photos have been on Move Mag. I mean, he
Moses
did an
Project.
article on Move Mag like last summer. He's in the new magazine. He's on the back of the Motus hoodie. He's
Yeah.
just been about. There's no way you would have missed him. But anyway, that's who
If you
we're
don't know
talking
him,
about.
you've seen his work.
The movement capsule, all those behind the scenes, all those photos for that like lookbook and stuff, the film photos, Jack Dodds, and they're all sick. So
They all bang. This dog.
Killed it.
What?
Where's the dog?
Oh shit! Yeah.
for all you listeners out there, Dylan's dog Ziggy is somewhere in the house, and
He's outside.
Or
Has been for
outside
like
the
an
house.
hour. We're supposed to be looking after him at the same
I'll
time.
get him.
Yeah,
I'm
well-
going to the toilet.
So-
while James is going to the toilet and sorting that shit out, let's try and keep the conversation flowing towards more parkour subjects instead of dogs.
Dogs, I think.
Dogs
Parkour
and
dogs.
Parkour dogs. I
There
saw
was
a
that- there was-
thing.
yeah,
I
there
saw-
was
I saw a thing. So if you don't know, there's a thing called Jam, and they do like a podcast sort of thing where they feature. It's like stands for Joining All Movement, and it's like
Yeah.
a YouTube channel, and they feature tricking, dancing, and parkour / free running. I don't really pay much attention to it because it's a lot of tricking, and I'm not that fussed, and a lot of dancing, which I'm also not fussed about. They feature Dom Tomato like every week. But today I bothered to watch one, and they had a dog one, and the dog was literally like doing pliers across these walls. It was so sick. Like I've seen dog parkour videos before, and it's just them like running up the tree and jumping out. I'm just like, that's not really dog parkour. And then like this dog was like plying across walls and like doing like Kong vaults and stuff. It was sick, and he's got like a whole Insta dedicated to it. It's so cool. I can't remember what it was, but I'll find it and we can put it in the description for you fellas if you want to see.
There are some weird there's some weird parkour content out there. Like Minecraft parkour things are so
Don't
shit.
stop. I think-
I used to make. Well, I used to do.
Oh no!
You heard it here
Do a
first.
couple
Dylan
of
and I
parkour
used to make
things.
Minecraft,
Did you make any videos?
Minecraft parkour videos.
I think. I can't remember. Oh no! I just went on it and my mate was like, made a little Minecraft parkour thing. Jumped across a couple of blocks. It's fun.
But that's saying that with like parkour content changing, like from just videos to podcasts, like the moving mag and stuff like that. There's also like big parkour games
Yeah.
like that Mirror's Edge and
Mirror's
so
Edge
something
some
else.
time ago though.
yeah, no, but saying like it's
Vector,
becoming
that Vector game on the
Oh,
phone.
yeah.
I can't. Most people must have played Vector. I don't know if you have. You're not quite a phone.
No.
You didn't have like a
Guy.
smartphone until
But,
a year ago.
Yeah.
But Vector was this game on your phone, and it was like I think it came out when I was like 4 years into training, 3 years into training. I wasn't like too heavily into training at the time, and basically you could do like double Kongs, and that's where I think that's where Screwdriver came from. I'd never heard of it until
Yeah.
like playing this game, and it was when people did like, and then on the game you could do the Kong 360 and then
Yeah.
Kong out, and that's where it was called Screwdriver. They had some weird names for other stuff, but
I used to have a game on PS2. It was just called Free Running,
Gate open.
and the first like mission or story is you went into a gym and you met Sebastian Foucan, and he taught you how to do back handsprings, and it was so shit. It was so shit.
I
Right.
do remember a game on Miniclip called. I don't even know if I'm saying it was like Extreme Pamplona or something like that.
Yeah, and you're
And
running
it
with
was a
a
bull
bull
rider, and it
Mm.
was a bull.
runner.
What do you
It was
call
like the-
it? Yeah, with the red sheet and
Yeah,
but
yeah.
the bull basically chases you through like a Spanish street and like an Argentinian like all that shit. But that was sick. That was sick.
That was where it's at.
Yeah, I remember playing
game
that on
was
like
sick.
a home computer
Yeah.
on like a dial-up
It
thing.
was
mini
Oh
clip.
god, that makes me so dumb.
You're
Dial-up.
old, mate.
Yeah, but
You're old as fuck.
Hey.
But yeah, I think
That gate was open.
yeah, there's a lot of
He just came in through the back gate, by the way. He was lost.
guys, for all you audio listeners who aren't watching the video, Ziggy is back. He's on the sofa next to me. It's all good.
He went on a little
He's
adventure.
safe.
A little PK trip.
But back on the topic, I think in terms of content and like how it's changing, it's all moving a bit more towards Instagram nowadays, which is I personally think is okay. Like, it depends what you want to do. So for Alex Shower and his like comedy sort of stuff, it works perfectly because he fits his like 15-second shit sketch on Instagram. It's great, and it's great for him to gain loads of fucking followers. But it's not really what it's not really what the real parkour people are watching. It's for the 10-year-olds who don't actually know parkour. But Stora have really done really fucking well in the fact that they've like pushed their YouTube up, so their YouTube is their highest quality thing and it has the most subscribers. and they're bringing in the 10-year-olds who are then becoming interested in parkour. This will probably please them, but like I've had kids coach I've coached kids who've like come in and they've been like, I'll be like, oh, like how do you sort of find out, or like have you ever done parkour before? They're like, no, but I like watched it on YouTube, and I was like, who'd you watch? They're like, oh, like Storyblog, and I was like, that's fucking cool.
Yeah.
Like the fact that they can draw in so many like draw in new people and like get people active in the community is so sick. And I think that some content like Alex Shower and maybe like Kyria, who are just like, well, Kyria for a start, who's fucking slapping girls' asses on his Instagram for views, is not really the right message for bringing people into parkour. And I think it certainly perpetuates the whole like someone like yelling parkour when they're like jumping at like over a pebble, and it's literally the worst thing. And I honestly don't cringe more, other than when someone jumps over nothing and says parkour.
It kicks a wall.
It's just annoying. Like and people, I feel like people are promoting that. Like,
was that if you go on the hashtag parkour?
I get like TV shows like making a little joke out of it. It's kind of like sort of yeah, fair enough. And like people who don't do parkour, like, oh yeah, that's what they associate it with. But if you're someone leading in parkour, like Alex Shower is so good and he's so talented, and it's just wasted because the man's just like. The man is just drawing in people based on like a fake video of him jumping like off a block onto a chair, and it's just annoying. Like it's just like
it's such a crazy platform that it can be. I think it's almost like a double pronged thing. There's the way I think that it can be used, as you just mentioned, like what you just said, as well as Giles and Keelan summed it up really, really nicely. And there's about Alex and some of the other guys, and you can very easily reach, well, not very easily, but you have the ability to reach a huge or to just gain like a huge reach of the general public. But you can also, and I think that the thing that I enjoy about Instagram is this little kind of parkour community that we all upload and hopefully inspire each other and just like get motivation and just like share your challenges and successes and failures and just like keep up with people's training stuff. That's what I really enjoy about it. But it's just mad that it has this like complete other side, and the two worlds sometimes clash, and it causes this.
For sure.
I was just talking to like Jamie about it the other day. My friend Jamie also does parkour. But it's just weird about the kind of two ends of parkour. There's that end with like Kiri and even like Eric.
Don't even
Where they're like doing like TV shows and all this weird stuff, and then there's the other end of parkour, which is like you're saying, like people like Try Hard who just make these like sick videos, all training like super steezy, and it's just kind of sad that the bit that the public sees is the other end, which is like
I agree.
Alex Shower and
it's
I don't know.
It's such a shame, and like so like the thing with that is that like Eric is like going on these TV shows and acting like a massive cunt. And so
bluntly,
he went on this TV show for background story. He's going on this TV show called Runners and Defenders in the US, and he is a defender on the show. And he put on his Instagram a while ago like the promotional video which they put out, and it's basically him telling everyone why he will beat the runner and stop them from winning £1 million because he is the best free runner in the world, and that he will never lose and he hates losing, and that's because he's the best free runner ever, and that's what free running is like. And it's just and the fact that he's never lost a competition, which just isn't true. And I just think that it's not. So if you go like
third place,
project third place to Ed Scott won the competition. Eric came third. I think either Eric came second or third. I think Luke might have come third and Eric came second, and Ed Scott won. That was like 2 years ago at Project Underground. And I watched like the background video, like other videos. I think I was telling you guys earlier. I watched the other videos for the defenders to like just to make sure it's not just like the TV, because everyone's like, oh yeah, it's just a TV ad. It's what it's got to be like. And there were so many others that didn't just come off like they just didn't come off like they were dicks. They came off like, oh yeah, I'm gonna win because of my skills, and it's like these are my skills that I have. And he just came off like, I'm amazing, I never lose, and I don't want to lose. I will beat you all. And I feel like, as much as you can say that's one guy, he is now officially associated with parkour and free
Yeah.
running through that whole network. Like that is now what people have seen associated with parkour, and it's like I don't think anyone's really like that. I mean, Eric could easily be a great guy, but I also like I haven't heard the best things, and that video doesn't give me the best impression.
It wasn't nice to us at Fort Lom Summer that one time.
You definitely have when you're on somewhere like
not
a
making
TV
friends.
show, when you're on somewhere like that has a ginormous audience of people who largely probably don't know what parkour is, other than the bits that they're bound to have seen. I think as a member of our community, you do have a responsibility to try and represent it as best you can, and I think there's a fine line between absolute. I understand that. To touch on what you're saying, using Eric's example, that I understand that there needs to be a certain amount of drama in TV. I understand that they need to sell it. I kind of get that, but also I think there's a fine line to be hit that I don't think that you should represent the sport badly in order to attain those.
I
that
completely
position.
agree. I've
said that badly.
Yeah, no, I don't think you have.
Well,
I understand. Like you understand that there's like you have to hit this mark where they're like, oh, we want you to be confident and like say that you're going to win, and it's like you can do that. Like you can do that without making yourself and the sport look bad, but he hasn't quite hit it, and I think as an athlete of that high profile, especially like with his like following, he should be a bit more like conservative towards what he's saying. Like, you know what I mean?
I think it's a lot to do with like what you think about as like a person. Do you think about things long term or short term? Because in the long term, it's damaging. In the short term, you've made a bit of money. That's that's kind of what it is. And it's like in the short term, you might be drawing some people into parkour, or because they're like the way I think of it is like the fig stuff. In the short term, you're making a bit of money. Your parkour's become a bit more aware, but in the long term, or people have become more aware of parkour, but in the long term, it's like gonna reduce like grassroots parkour, like what the getting into it's like what it originally was, or like it's just like people going out and training, and then, for example, they could make you bring in like have specific insurance that requires you to have like padding on things, or because it follows that guideline, the fig stuff. So I think people don't think long term enough about the sport. If that makes any sense.
It does.
Yeah, no,
Do you think it's fair to say that in order to currently, in our current situation, where the community is now, where the sport is now, to make it as a professional athlete, kind of quote unquote, there, you have to kind of delve into that world a little bit. You have to kind of play that game, and in doing so, I'm not saying you like write off the sport and everything we kind of love about it, but there is this kind of certain point of that, and it's just dark that in order for that not to be the route into being a professional athlete, you kind of it's just such a
you have to take responsibility. It's the same way as like everyone says to a celeb, like the reason celebrities are on such scrutiny is because they're these massive idols that have to take responsibility of literally everything they do. Like it's the same reason you don't see celebrities going around punching people, because they're responsible for like the way they are, but as the way because they're such role models. But I think athletes have to do the same thing. So when Eric goes into this TV show, he is a role model to so many people and an avenue for new people to come into the sport. It is his responsibility for, if a TV producer turns around and says, so you have to come across as like this big, burly, scary dick, it's his responsibility to go, no. And he's got to be like,
it does
no.
fit that well though.
No, but it is his responsibility to go, no, I will come across as big, burly and scary, but I'm not going to make it sound like I've got this arrogant persona. He's probably a lovely guy, but he's just made himself look like this arrogant person, and then people like think these parkour athletes are arrogant. It's the same way that people still think that parkour is like just a bunch of hooligans, because they see people running around on walls and like some people throwing stuff around and like aren't training. They're doing all that urbex stuff. that's what their perception is now. So like that's Eric is now that perception.
It's the association. Like
Yeah.
you do parkour, so you must like know Eric, and therefore you must be similar to and have the same interest in this, which would be winning apparently.
Yeah.
Which then makes us look like massive twats. Because again, not all of us compete, and not all of us win. but like we don't have the obsession with it, and I feel like when you put it in that sort of like when you put in that sort of circumstances on that sort of show, it makes it seem like we do. We're like, oh, we just train to win, when a lot of us just train to break down challenges because it's fucking fun and it's fucking sick.
Yeah.
Like if you don't know
You're not
that,
wrong.
you don't really do parkour. Like
Yeah, it is a grey area. I do like understand what you're saying with having an avenue that people like to become a professional athlete. You have to kind of do these jobs and do these these things, but it is your responsibility to like take control of how the jobs come out, so to speak. It's like Eric has to change that persona that they're trying to give him. What are you saying?
No, what Marcus is saying, where you have to try and kind of delve into that world of playing into those roles. I don't think you necessarily have to, just because, you know, obviously, take again, Stora, for example, they've made this huge YouTube channel, which unfortunately got demonetized, but, you know, they've made money off that. They've got their own clothing brand. They were in films, like we went to go see the Mary Poppins film.
Yeah, that's weird.
There was like loads of the Stora guys, and
Callum was like on the front, like when you go to watch it, there's like one of these guys in a tower, and it's just Callum, and he's just like, it's like, what the fuck? It's just like,
oh guys, I'm Colin Poe. But yeah, I agree. And like, so not the best example, but Jesse LaFleur has made oodles of money, and he doesn't come off. I wouldn't say he comes off as the best person, but he also doesn't come like I wouldn't say many of his actions are too negative. Like
I'd say none of them are.
Yeah, like
They're a bit cringy.
He's a bit cringe. His style's a bit weird, and I personally don't like watching his videos because I don't really like his style. It's not my kind of thing, but he also has built this massive platform which brings people into parkour, and he's built all these academies through Tempest and stuff, and he's apparently making some fat film which is apparently super sick, and he doesn't behave like a cocky little twat too much. I'm not sure about this whole shoe thing where it's like he's got that extra precision. I'm not really sure how that works.
Have you seen what it looks like?
I don't like the shoe.
It is like a clown shoe. I don't understand it.
It's crazy as fuck. Jesse, if you watch this, if you watch this, can you send us like a for real picture that doesn't say extended precision zone, because that does make it look a bit bait that you have the weirdest foot in the world. But yeah, so like he's making a shoe and like bringing all this shit in, and he's not coming off as this guy who loves to win and fucking destroy everyone else because he's this giant Russian geese. You know what I mean? And Eric might not be like that in person, but when you're coming off like that in a video on TV with that kind of viewership and your kind of viewership online where you're posting it on your Insta, it then makes everyone in this room and probably a higher like Shifa commented on it saying, "This isn't humble at all, like what you're doing."
Yeah.
And then Kate McDonald replied saying, "Do you not understand TV?" And it's like, well, everyone understands how TV works. The difference is some of us don't want to make parkour athletes look like cunts.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
For that half-hour show, you represent parkour. You are parkour for that half hour.
Yeah. And his so what he's done there is visible with, like you said, with all of us. Because like, he just whacked on social media. Now we've got this idea that like he might be this arrogant guy. Like we've never met him, but like we've now got this idea because it's like that. And if it works,
some experiences.
If it works from like guys that do parkour, everyone that watches that TV show is going to have that exact same thought that we're having, except they don't know what parkour's like. So I think I do really do. It's like you are representing. It's your responsibility.
I fully agree.
Yeah, and it is as well. He put it on his Instagram. I just thought it was a bit like he didn't put anything else from the show apart from the bit of him saying, "I'm the best free running athlete in the world." Like even if it was just TV,
never lost.
You could have posted. Yeah, you could have posted a clip of him during the show, but you posted that part being like.
Could have done a caption being like, "Oh, this is a thing that has to do with TV." I'm not like this, or something like that. It's like, I'm actually really nice.
In his defence, he might have been contracted to only upload that, or like.
Yeah, wouldn't you do like
that's the sort of stuff that you don't really know. So I can't blame him if he couldn't have uploaded other stuff. But
if that's the case,
again, I still feel like in the interview he could have made the choice to not come off like a cunt.
But isn't that like in that if that's the case, that's an advert, and aren't you like legally now supposed to tell everyone that you're doing an advert? Isn't that like a thing? Or like even if it's not, you could like do hashtag ad.
Not totally sure. Not totally sure on the logistics of the legal side and stuff. But on Instagram, you can 100% when you're as big as him and you are getting ads like that, you can have a little tag at the top that says sponsored ad.
Yeah.
It'll say sponsored by, blah blah blah.
Yeah. I think
and then at the bottom you put ad, and it just like it brings it back to the fact that this is only under the impressions of the TV show, and like that I think that does defend yourself a bit more. But I still think it doesn't defend you from the fact that you went on this TV show and you are representing parkour and you've acted like this.
Yeah, I reckon you can just all it takes is like I at the end of the day I have no clue. I have not been on TV. I don't know how the conversation can go, but I reckon you have to fight to turn around and say like come across as a dick. You can say no. I think it would be better to do it like this or. But I don't know that, so I can't turn around and say like
we've not been on TV necessarily, but we have experienced the public's reaction to what we do.
Yeah.
And we have experienced their preconceptions of what we are and how they react to what we do based on what is put out to the public on a more sort of universal, more viewed platform, such as a TV series. We've experienced that firsthand from people saying, "Oh, you're those guys who jump across buildings," but that's just not accurate as to what we do. We train low level for years before we even think about going higher. So I think our input, although it's not necessarily 100% accurate as to the exact experience, to say what Eric has experienced, being contracted in potentially, being given a guideline of what he's allowed to say and what he's allowed to speak about, but we have experienced the repercussions of what he's allowed to speak about. And therefore our opinion isn't necessarily invalidated because we haven't been on TV, but it's validated by the fact that we've experienced what comes from his actions and how we've had to deal with that on our own
not
level.
his actions.
Or not him
specifically.
Not him specifically, obviously, but everyone
but
who is being viewed on a more public platform like a movie or TV series, things like that.
I personally think we have the best opinion on that sort of thing because we're neither side. So we're not the muggles who, like, for lack of a better term, people who don't do fucking parkour, who are like, oh, this is parkour. They just assume this is parkour, so that's like everyone in parkour is dicks. We know everyone in parkour aren't dicks, but then we're also not the people acting like dicks for TV. So we're not. So like we have like the middle ground where we can be like, oh yeah, you could have been better at this. You could have been better, like represented us better, and we also can be like, he's not really like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a toughie.
It's a very tough thing to think about, especially when you think about, so for us a more public platform would be things like Stora's movie being broadcast and stuff like that. Like that kind of content is a fantastic representation of who we are and what we do. But that's still, even that, a fantastic feature-length movie that was still basically only really broadcast to people in the parkour community.
Is it you talking about RCA?
Yeah. Roof Culture Asia, fantastic movie. It's on Vimeo. Rent it or buy it, whichever you choose to do. But that is a feature-length movie. That's exactly that's the kind of content that I personally think should be put out to a broader range of communities. So like everyone should watch that, even if you don't do parkour, because it gives a much more accurate representation of what we do, what we think about, the way we break down movement at a more extreme level.
Problem is, you can't. I don't think you can put that on the public. You can't say you need to watch this to
absolutely.
understand what we do. I think I think the best approach is by just training in town, being polite, being respectful, explaining when people have problems.
Absolutely.
I think that's the only way that things. And to be fair,
it's getting there.
It's
working.
In the last 6 or 7 years, there's been such a drastic increase just in terms of comments from their mums of like, don't let kids that these boys are being silly, to now it's like, oh look, they're doing parkour, or like,
Yeah.
oh, do you mind if we watch it? That to me is a huge change, but it just takes time.
I'd
doesn't
argue
it?
an even bigger, more subtle change is the fact that we've gone from parkour being very much classified as a hooligan sport for adrenaline junkies who are just looking to get the biggest thrill as quickly as possible to we teach kids, young kids, from the ages of 3 all the way up to adults who are as high as like 50, 60 years old. And they don't bat an eyelid at the fact that it's parkour. They're like, oh, hi, I'm here to experience parkour. And, you know, all of us are coaches here, so we've all experienced it. You get someone who has no clue what parkour is, and you have the opportunity to explain to them that it's nothing to do with adrenaline. It's nothing to do with just thrill seeking. There's a genuine mindset and a genuine community behind this entire sport, and we have nothing but well wishes for everyone and everything we do. And it's a really unique experience compared to, say, maybe when you first started training, when no one had any idea what you're doing. You'd say parkour and they'd have no clue. But now when you say parkour, they go, oh, isn't that sport? And then you get that opportunity to say, hey, no, it's not that sport where you jump in buildings. We train low level. We are very safety conscious.
That's free jumping.
Yeah,
And,
It's free jumping. Urban brick touching that.
base was it? We were in town and I was like, is that a base jumping,
Base
that you're
jumping.
doing? Chris, you were like,
wasn't there an
yeah.
amazing one the other day?
Yeah.
Fuck, what was that? That was one I'd
Yeah.
never heard before.
There are some great names
Anyway.
that come out. It's just a bit of bullshit, really. Yeah, I agree that it has certainly changed. I also feel that there are certain changes that haven't. Like, I feel like it's some of it's come off in a bad way. So
Yeah.
we were coaching, me and James coaching Addleston about a week, like it was not last week, the week after
2
on
weeks
the
ago.
Thursday.
Yeah.
And it was at youth club, and so we had a different youth worker there that day with us to because they oversee us while we coach at the youth club, because they run the center. And she wasn't sure what parkour was, and then she was like, is it this thing where you like she basically assumed it was the whole adrenaline junkie thing. And then me and James talked to her about it, and we're like, oh yeah, we explained the whole thing of what James just explained. And then she was like, oh yeah, that's great then, that's really cool. And then she watched Resurgence because she wanted to get some reference videos of what sort of stuff we do. And I think one of the students, because obviously we put out the videos to our students because we're Donnies and they should be watching the good shit. And so Elliot showed her Resurgence, and she was like, so you are doing this? And I was like, I had to re-explain how I had done jumps that were in that video, and that I'd broken them down, if that makes sense.
Hold up.
What's it said?
The camera just turned off.
For all you
It should
video
be.
listeners,
It did.
the camera's just turned off.
Video listeners.
Yeah, well, they're watching the video and
They could
listening
be
at the
listening
same
on the
time.
video.
It's a combination of the two.
No.
There's
We are
no
going
way
to
you
quickly
did it
take a
already.
break and change the battery on the camera. James, can you whip out the second battery?
I can't because it's already on the second battery because the first battery was dead.
Shit,
So now we're just
Fucked it.
audio listeners. Hashtag doing what Team Farang are doing.
Someone get the phone out. Anyway, so yeah,
Well,
I explained that to her, and then she turned around and was like, "Yeah, you're."
Unless we do.
She just went back to assuming that we're adrenaline junkies, and I don't think I really convinced her that we were. If I'm being
No,
honest.
neither do I.
Yeah, do this, and we just go on to people.
Yeah,
People now.
let's
Yeah, well, I
We-
think
Let's
we've
do it
talked.
for
We went very in on the whole social obligations of parkour and how you should be representing everything, and I think we touched on it quite well, to be honest. And so we're going to save some other topics for next week, if you feel like listening then, because if this week wasn't shit enough, next week could be even shitter. Something we're going to try and touch on every week is a little rounded out end piece, is someone we believe everyone in the room and also all you listeners / viewers should be following on Instagram, because that is currently the biggest platform for parkour, and as Marcus was saying earlier, the biggest way to build you have this social group of people who share and get creative with each other. And so I think that by sharing these different people who we feel are underrated or should be followed by everybody, people can get a bigger view of what people do in the community. So we'll start off with my man Finn.
Well, I can't remember his Instagram handle because we're using my
Do you
phone.
want me to-
What's the name?
So the guy I'm selecting this week is Geordie from Brighton, because
I think it's just his name,
It's
Geordie.
Geordie T. Sheparal, I believe.
it is. Sorry, dude. I'm not going to say all of this correctly. His name is Geordie Torrens Heppel.
Something like that.
And we'll link all the Instagram stuff in the description.
Yeah.
But I think he is an absolute underrated powerhouse. He's working silently in the background, doing all of the challenges that I think or some of the challenges I think some of the bigger name athletes are doing. But obviously he hasn't got the following currently, so he's just gliding on by. But like when he came to Dorking the other day, I haven't trained with him for a year or so. He was just throwing out these like weird challenges, these like dinos, these cat to cat. There was like a cat 270 to cat, like a dino. He's just throwing out these weird challenges. I think he's very underappreciated for it. So follow Geordie.
Geordie from Brighton.
From
Get
Brighton.
on it. Marcus
Change your Instagram handle to something easier to say.
At Marcus.Fifthunit. What's your one?
I was so torn between two of like a very similar style, but it's I'm going with Jack Holland Bartlett from
Good choice.
yeah
Good
from
choice.
Coventry.
Jack
I
Doherty.
believe, or somewhere around Coventry rugby sort of area. He, in terms of what I really enjoy watching, he just like encompasses that. It's like running prees, plyos, just with like perfect technique. Honestly, I think if I'm not mistaken, he's been doing weight training for a long time, but kind of before there was this like surge of people really taking an interest in it, which shows in his training. But maybe I've got that absolutely wrong, I don't know. But he's a fucking beast. He's got so much power. He's unbelievably clean. And I've shared probably more posts on my story of him than just like honestly. But yeah. Oh, he's Jack_HB is his handle.
Jack_HB. Go on his profile. Find this massive standing pre he did in Belgium and watch it.
Bro.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable stick. Shout like huge. Cool.
Kind of
So we're going around to me. Mine this week is the boy, the big man, Harrison Fernandez. I think is his thing just like
Is that H. Fernandez?
I think it's H. Fernandez. If someone could quickly check for me.
Yeah.
He is currently sponsored by Breach and he is from Cambridge.
It's Harrison Fernandez _.
So it's Harrison Fernandez _ is his Instagram handle, and he is just insanely good. He's been around for time, like with Manifest Parkour. He's been on the weightlifting for time. Man's like a trained sports masseuse and stuff like that. He's fucking
Big boy.
He knows what he's doing, and he's fucking good at it. And he's like, he like just learnt scoot double full on flat, and it's just like insane that his tricking is of that level. And then he also does like the fattest, like jumps on the same scale as like Callum Powell with possibly the same control. It's insane. So make sure you check that guy out.
He's one of those athletes that has that like really weird lâché technique, where he looks like he's doing a slow lâché, but just generates so much power out of it. He's just like boing, just like springs out of everything.
Ganondorf slow charge.
Shout
You know
out
what I mean.
Smash Bros on Switch.
Put your handle in.
But yeah, so I definitely think everyone in this room is definitely following him already.
Absolutely.
He's well known within like the people who are good, or the people who like follow like real community in parkour. But if you don't really like, so he's still not. He's on like 2,000, like 3,000 followers. Like that's not a lot. Yeah, he's not on a lot.
Yeah.
And he could definitely do with a fuck ton more. So if you don't know him, fucking get to know.
Boom.
My one for this week, I found it quite hard to pick. It's called Carl Hertz. I know he's not that underrated, but
such a good follow.
like he's actually got quite a big following. But the stuff he does, his creativity, like his power, like his lâchés are just a fucking joke. I think, although he's got about like 10k followers on Instagram, which is quite a large following, for the amount he does, he's like still kind of just slipping under the radar, and I just think he's
I agree.
definitely deserves.
He did that weird like bar combo that was sent around for a while. Didn't he?
His stuff is just like no one else does it.
Yeah.
No one else does it.
He's a joke.
He's not really being shared as well. That's the thing.
Yeah,
It's like he's
yeah.
grown to like 10k without being shared,
Mm.
which is like a really hard thing to do.
Yeah.
So I think if you haven't followed him, you definitely should. I think it's at Carl.Hertz.
Yeah.
It is,
Hertz.
Yeah, it
We'll
is.
put that in the description as well. Definitely follow that geezer. James,
Yeah.
I just realised,
what to
James,
say.
you're not in frame at all.
That's fine. This is me. I've gone down quite a similar line to Chris actually, because my recommendation who follows is Arthur, who's also from Breach, or Arthur.fat. He's only on about 3k followers, I think nearly 4k. But is it Fat Development, their newest video?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he does the side pre it's just a running pre at IMAX, which is already an iconic running pre, and he does that as a flip pre.
Oh.
I spoke to him about that after the video came out, and he did that several times consistently, and he was looking to do the plyo out, which I think just like shows the level of control he has, and also everything he does and every move he does is always so controlled, it's so clean, but also he's just a really, really lovely person. I think if there's anyone to be a front of like how nice parkour people can be, Arthur's one of them. I had the pleasure. I met him on my level 1, and he was just so nice the whole time. You wouldn't think he's a London Ute. He's just that nice. But yeah, he's just really clean movement. It's Arthur.fat. Highly recommend.
If you saw me point at Marcus when he was talking, that's because I said he should have done the plyo out. When I watched the video, I said to Marcus, I was like, I think he could definitely ply that out.
He tried to do the plyo out, and I think he said he like slipped on one, like slipped slightly forward,
yeah.
and like hit his bum or something. But he was like thinking about doing the plyo out, but he reckons
that's
he'll get it
fucking
soon.
sick.
So it's coming.
Side pre, plyo,
Yeah.
like Rudy out.
I think-
Imagine!
I think or just a dive out, just a flip pre to dive out would also.
Well,
be
Jaden
so
did it, and it was fucking
sick. Yeah.
insane. I did Harrison Fernandez quite dirty. He's not on 3k. He's on like 5.8. But either way, he deserves way more than that anyway, because he's still fucking better
Absolutely.
than a lot of people. Like I'd much happily rather watch him than like Kyria. So
Shots.
I love bums, but not like that.
Kyria's not gonna watch this. Like we're not that
Yeah,
famous.
it doesn't matter. Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, nah.
Anyway,
I think we're gonna get like 4
At
views
all.
or anything.
Anyway, we're all talking over each other right at the end. So I'm gonna thank everyone for watching / listening to this
Big up.
god awful thing. But if you got all the way through, shout out to you fellas. Saying shout out sounds really fucking weird.
Shout out to
But
Ethan,
yeah, make
who's
sure-
the only one who'll finish this.
Yeah. Big up Ethan
Big
Knowles
up
for
Ethan
finishing
Knowles.
for the finishing
Ethan
this video.
_Knowles 15.
But yeah, so all the links and stuff to what we've talked about, like James just talked about fat development, we'll try and like put that shit in the bio
Description.
as well. We're gonna have to like filter through all the fucking shit and put all the stuff we talked about in it. But hopefully you'll be able to get through this all and look at all the content we talked about.
Yeah,
And hopefully you can form your own opinions on what we've talked about, and it's great.
If classic podcast questions, things that we should cover, things that you liked, things that you didn't like, should we be really mean to people, or I don't know, bum liquid
nah.
like everyone else seems to do
I already
nowadays?
have
Yeah, I've been
that.
holding
Let's not be
back,
mean.
and I could easily say way worse things. so-
Yeah. Do you like meaner or nicer?
Well,
Do you want us to do you want us to tell the truth, or do you want us to be pussies? That's the real question.
The trick is to be truthful, but not unnecessarily mean.
I
That's our
agree.
goal. That's our
And
goal.
I feel like I was truthful today, as opposed to being unnecessarily mean.
We had you on a leash. Yeah. Anything else to talk about? And why the fuck have you listened to this?
You know,
Yeah.
sort yourself out. Come
Yeah.
on. There's better things to
Something
do.
else.
Video's finished.
Fuck, I did.
You made the clap at the end.
I needed that clap as well.
That's why I
because
see. I know what I'm doing.
I
mate.
needed that clap because I didn't clap
Oh,
sync
because
it,
in the phone.
and I turned it off before you did the clap.
Oh, good signs.
Right.